Lesson 1.1, Video 5. Finding the slope of a line when you're given a graph. We talked about coming up with the slope given 2 points. Well, coming up with the slope given a graph can be somewhat easier. So let's focus in on this one graph in particular. Now, slope represents going from one point to another point on the line. And it's described as rise over run. It also has a formula that we talked about, but this is a good way to look at this. Rise over run. So let's make sure we make one comment here. The numerator is the y movement, and the denominator is the x movement. So for rise over run, it's important to understand that if you are rising this way, you have a positive movement for y's. If you are going downward for the y's, it's a negative movement. For the run, if we're moving to the right, it is a positive movement. If we're going to the left, it is a negative movement. So it's important to understand what the movements mean in terms of the sign of a number. So in thinking of that, let's go to this graph. We have a point on the line right here. And we choose that point because it goes through what we would label a crosshair of the grid. We can't choose this point in the middle here because it doesn't do us any favors. It deals with fractions, and we don't want fractions if we can help it. So this point is good because it goes through, again, what's called the crosshairs of one of the grids. Now, how do you get from that point to this point? Now, we don't have to use those 2 points, but we're going to, just to make a point. And I will go down, all the way down to here, and then all the way across. So what kind of movement is that? Well, if I start at the top left one, I would go down, which would give me a negative y movement. And I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares. And then I would go to the right, which is a positive movement for x, 7 more. So rise over run. So rise is the y changes. The run is the x changes. And that simplifies down to -1. And I could have just gone from this point to this point, and I still would get -1 in this case. And I can use any one of those points because it goes again through a crosshair. But if I did that one, I would go down one to the right one and still get the slope of -1. So made it a lot bigger triangle than we had to, but again, it just proved a point that you won't be wrong as long as you pick 2 points that go through a crosshair. And the last one, it's a good one because we have to find points that our blue line goes through the crosshairs of the grid. If I look here, this point does not cut it. It's not going through a crosshair. So I follow that line up, and I notice right here works. I need 2 points though, so I keep on going, and it doesn't hit another nice crosshair till here. So what happens, or what do I do, or how do I move to get from one point to the next? Well, I'll go up to here and to the right to the point right there. What kind of movement is that? Well, I go up, which is a positive movement for y, and I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. I go to the right from there, which is a positive movement for x, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So rise is the y value, run is the x value, and this is our slope. Again, you could use the slope formula, but you have the graph, and sometimes that's quicker as long as you understand how to, or what points to use. And this ends Lesson 1.1, Video 5.